Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of LoLa Podcast. And we have a special guest here today. He's the co-founder and creative director of Lambda Films. His name is Ryan Stone, which is a really cool name, just to set us off. Now, Lambda Films is a commercial video production company and animation company. It began as a hobby alongside his co-founder, which he's going to tell us all about him in a bit. And he was at the University of East Anglia. And thanks to the rise in digital video and social platforms, they managed to just ride the wave that rose all ships to a quick and cheap video content, but then they learn and develop their craft. And today they produce high-end brand films, corporate content, as well as TV commercials with a small, agile and powerful team. Now, you put a bit of a personal note on there that you like monster movies and growing things in dirt, as well as video games. So I'm sure someone somewhere is relating to at least one of those things. So I'll give it over to you. If you can please take it away and tell us a bit about your past, why it all started, how it developed into an actual company, and then from there, where your vision is today and why you do what you do, please.
Sure, no worries. Well, thank you for bringing up my name. I actually was never a fan of it growing up, but I don't know, people seem to enjoy it. And yeah, my interests are kind of a intriguing Venn diagram of things, but as you say, I'm sure there's someone out there that can relate. So yeah, I'm the creative director and co-founder of Lambda Films, and basically it all started with my love for cinema. Rather than movie making or anything, it was actually just watching films, tons and tons of films, and on VHS of all things. So I went to university to study film, and it was an academic course, so no practical filmmaking. So I just learned film theory. I learned why Jaws is actually an allegory for a giant Nazi penis, and various other things that actually have no sort of useful application in the real world. While I was studying, I became involved with a university society, the TV Society, which encouraged students to sort of make their own TV shows, short films, video content, anything that they sort of wanted, really. And basically, I started applying myself to that more than I did my studies. So, any hour of the day, I could pretty much be found in this studio just playing with the cameras, editing software, and making stuff with a bunch of like-minded people. Over the years, the 3 and 4 years, because I did a master's, I was at university, that sort of interest became pretty burning passion. And like I said, I put myself into that society more than I did my own studies. I was the studio manager for 2 years, and then the actual president of that society for my final year. And under that, or during that time rather, like we grew the society from when I started, it was 5 people just sitting around in a dark room. By the time I left, it was about 50 people making sort of 10, 12 different types of shows. Like it was incredible, and definitely the best years of my life.
Was it public anywhere, or was it more of doing it for your own benefit?
Oh yeah, it's totally doing it for your own benefit. There's, no financial incentive. We were all students as well, apart from the make-believe hierarchy of the society. There was no reason for anyone to do what I told them or anything like that. But that's what I mean. It really taught you how to manage a team, zero budget and zero actual power is all an illusion. But it really taught me how to work with people and I guess in a sense, create a company. But yeah, so people were just going off doing their own thing, and I just had to sort of herd them together, make sure it was at least all consistent, and we had a good sort of program of content. But yeah, it was really...
Jump in the picture. When did you start collaborating on actually doing your own thing?
So was that my business partner?
Yes, co-founder, business partner. What's his name, by the way? Or her name?
Alex.
Alex, there you go.
Alex Mail, as in. So basically, he joined, I guess, sort of halfway through my tenure. He's a couple of years younger than me. And I just really liked the fact that out of all the new people who started, he came up to me directly and he just wanted to make his own stuff. He really knew what he wanted. He had some good ideas, and he just, sort of took them and ran with them. So he was a really sort of invested member of the team. We just got on really well. I think, a very similar sense of humor. And so just over those, the next few years, we just bonded. And when it came time to leave university, we started doing a few video projects for, I guess, sort of just people we knew in the city, but businesses and things like that. And they gave us money, which really shocked us and made us realize that we could actually start a business. So I think you mentioned it in the intro there. We were so lucky in that, at the start of my university career, there wasn't social media and YouTube wasn't a thing, but pretty much a couple of years into my time at university, Facebook launched and YouTube began to be taken really seriously. And by the time we left, basically social media was the thing, wasn't it? It was the marketing buzzword that everyone talked about. And YouTube was one of them. And so online video was just a massive thing for businesses. And so we were just perfectly placed. We were entirely self-taught when it came to video production. And, we can admit, the quality of our video back then was, let's say, just raw. But at the time, that was forgivable on social media and things like YouTube. It was a new format. People were still working out what was quality, what worked, things like that. So, we got away for a few years just, we always strive for quality and good ideas and things like that, but it's just our technical sort of development wasn't really there. But yeah, the, online video, social media, that whole thing has only just grown. And so with it, company did as well.
That's quite interesting.
And so it started with...
Sorry to interrupt you. I think we've got a bit of a delay on the
call.
In terms of the, we heard about the opportunities you had at the time and how it all started making sense over time without you even meaning to specifically go into business. And then someone came and said, here's some money, do something for us because you know what you're doing. And that pretty much triggered you into getting into a business-minded approach. What about challenges? Like there must have been some drawbacks or some walls that you've hit along the way. What did that look like?
I guess so many. Just, when we first left university, we were penniless. You have to get a job, but when you start a company, it takes a while to get going and actually to get that money in. So, those early, let's say, year and a half was really difficult. Just trying to, get the company off the ground. Online video, while it was sort of becoming a major thing for marketers, it still wasn't really properly adopted. So we, our main thing was just being two young student types trying to break into the world of business. And the way we did that in the early days was just do a lot of networking, in-person networking. But when we got there, it was very much an old boys club and video wasn't taken seriously still in that sort of space. So it was, sort of a slow process there. And in fact, our big break came from a woman who she really took a chance on us. She was a crystal therapist, if that's potentially the right term, but basically healing people with the power of crystals from her bedroom. And she took a punt on us, put down £500, which was a crazy amount at that time. Again, for two young students. And we made videos for her, and she was almost like our first corporate commercial client. But then, over the years, it began getting easier, and our age started becoming more of a strength rather than a weakness, because, nowadays, when there's new social platforms, you don't talk to your parents about it, you probably talk to your kids or the younger generation to find out what's going on. So eventually our age actually did become a strength for us. In terms of challenges, though, just almost everything, because we weren't trained in business at all. We learned as we went along. We made all the mistakes you can possibly make. Thankfully, nothing that really sort of caused any damage to the business in any way. But just in terms of finding our own locations, our own offices, and then having to deal with rents and contracts and things like that.
Getting the business stuff.
Sorry, say that again.
Actually dealing with the businessy stuff rather than the creative part of the work.
100%. Yeah, we didn't know that. And, just lessons learned were like just taking deposits from clients. We just went on good faith with so many people for a long time until we finally did get burnt. We invested money to get a project off the ground, and the client just disappeared one day. And so at that point, you realize you need contracts, you need deposits, you need to make sure everything's safeguarded. And so it's been that slow sort of learning curve for us in terms of just the business side. Obviously, in terms of tech, a lot of it was quite expensive. And so we certainly started, your previous guest was talking about sort of the HD digital film production and everything. When we started, which was after him, we were still having to use SD cameras. But then again, our platform was still standard definition. So it was okay, but due to the economies of it, we were still a couple of steps behind where the technology was.
Is SD the 480p one?
Oh god, I can't even remember what SD. No, 1080p or 1920 1080p is HD.
Yeah,
geez, I can't remember what SD is now.
You've got the 720 underneath it, but I thought that was still regarded as high definition. So the way I've got it in my mind, I might be completely wrong. If someone knows and puts it down in the comments, just shredding up bits, well done. You know it, we didn't. So the way I've got it in my head is 480 is the SD, not very good quality, but playback is fine. And then the 720 is the high definition when it starts and when it started back in the day. UHD is the 1080p, or that's how I expect it. And then you've got the 4Ks, which is called 4K because it's 4K, and that's its own thing. Am I wrong? Do you think it's UHD when you go to 4K?
UHD is 4K.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. There was a bit of a grey area around HD being at 720. I would say 1080 is HD, and like I said, for the life of me, I can't remember what SD is nowadays.
Well,
yeah.
There you go. So that's how it progressed over the digital front. And actually, we're having this discussion as well. I can't remember who it was, but we're saying you've hit the 4K mark. And up to now, up to 4K, it's always been like almost a linear approach to it. So the next generation is 4K, and everyone's as excited for 4K as they were for 1080p when it was first coming out. But now it's almost like slowed down a bit. Because if you tell someone we're shooting at 8K and we're producing at 8K, it's almost like you can't really tell the difference anymore that much. You need to be on a massive display that's basically 10 meters across before you can recognize that 8K and 4K are different shoots, unless you're an expert, I guess, because you know what you're looking for. So for most of the industry, 1080p is good enough for internet-based. 4K is good enough for ultra high definition. You get everything as clear as they can be. But 8K is almost like an overkill now, isn't it?
Yeah, completely agree. While we shoot a lot of our work in 4K, just because it gives us a lot of flexibility and longevity, we're still delivering probably 80% of our content in HD. TV commercials and everything, there are 4K versions. 8K, just very, very, very rare. And like you say, probably not really any platforms that need it at the moment. Certainly not in what we do.
Yeah. Is it, am I correct in thinking back now, that 4K is 4 times the size of 1080p, because it's like 1080p times 4 screens, and then it's 8K right. 4 times the 4K?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. So you've got 4K screens, four 4K screens stitched together to create the 8K. I'm thinking I'm thinking of the size of the file. Like, if 4K is already a big file size, especially when you're filming for an hour, what's going on with the 8K? You're talking hundreds of gigabytes just to get something of a long...
I mean, after a project, you're probably talking terabytes. Even with 4K at the moment, a lot of our projects still come in, in the terabyte region. So
we're having this discussion.
Yeah, big stuff.
The fact that you need some kind of processing power to be able to do good enough editing. And that's part of the LoLa thing as well. We're saying you've got the cloud PCs, they're really powerful, you can do whatever you want with them. But then there's a big blocker when it comes to video production, because your files are shot on site. and then you need to store them on local hard drives or anything that you're using, maybe a server in the corner of the room. How do you get that file to a cloud environment? Because usually we've got asynchronous broadband speeds, don't we? It's like, I've got a good internet connection if I've got 100 megabps download speed. That's probably something like 30 or 40 upload speed. So by the time you get that terabyte into the cloud, it takes hours, maybe days before you get your files where they need to use them. So that's a big blocker for us to fix. But how do you deal with it with the way you work?
It is really difficult. It is something we do struggle with. When our editors are working on content, they ideally need to have it as local as possible. So Mac Studios and SSDs sort of give them that support, and they take things off SSDs, put it onto the studio, and vice versa. Just have to basically juggle a shit ton of files, really. But yeah, in terms of, we have to work with clients that sometimes send us footage. And even recently on a project, we had that limitation of sending sort of online. They just couldn't do it. Their connection just kept failing. We couldn't get it. In the end, they had to go old school and just post us an SSD of all the files.
You told me this
so yeah,
story.
there's absolutely, absolutely, there's a barrier.
Yeah. So let's go back to the structure of the podcast. So we've talked about the past, why you started, where you started from. You developed over time in getting some good breaks within the old boys club, and it became a bit of a benefit, the fact that you were younger than most people, because you could easily adopt this new way of working, the social media, the YouTubes, the way that people want to start working. And it's that fresh perspective that I'm guessing people started seeing in you, and that's why it made you special. So over time that developed, at which point, I'm guessing now we're talking in the 2010s to maybe late 10s. Is that where we are now?
Maybe 11, 12. We started in 2009, so year and a half of bit of struggle and everything. And then I think probably from 11, things were just constantly on the up.
Nice. And when was the next barrier you've hit? Obviously before COVID. Was there anything before that, or was it the COVID line that hit everyone basically?
I mean, for us, I think one of the interesting barriers was, and again, this comes back to learning about business. It was more a financial sort of learning point in that, again, so our team grew, we hired quite a few people, and obviously at this time with video becoming more popular, obviously competition grew, and we reached a point, it was like a horrible sort of convergence of issues where I think it was just probably a bit of a rubbish year for work. We'd hired so many people, and financially it hit us quite badly. So that was a big learn.
Turnover situation.
Yeah, totally. It was just sort of balancing that, but it could have been potentially avoided. It helped us look at how we structured payments, how we actually charged for things. So it was, like I say, it was things like that was one of our next big hurdles, just really learning how to deal with cash flow. In fact, cash flow, I think, is the buzzword, isn't it? For this kind of thing, that you've always got to make sure that you're liquid in terms of your finances. And I think that was a big learning thing for us. I think a lot of the years, though, were generally just great, just continuous growth. And yeah, obviously COVID was a massive turning point for things. We were lucky in that because we do animation as well. Well, firstly, as we went into COVID, we had just wrapped filming on a pretty big project for Fabergé. And so COVID hit, and actually we had quite a few months of post-production work to do for them. And so that actually sort of kept all the lights on and everything. Plus we then had people just coming to us for animation rather than video. And because we've got our editors in-house, we've also asked to do quite a lot of post-production work. So a lot of people were creating their own content, as a lot of businesses creating their own content, getting people to film bits at home and then sending us stuff. So, you know, it was an interesting time. Wouldn't want to return to it, but you know, we came out, and I think the year after COVID was probably one of the best years in our history.
We did a comeback right after it.
And then since, it sort of righted the ship, as it were. And then I'd say sort of since then, it has been like the whole creative industry, I think, has been hit quite badly due to numerous factors. So yeah, I mean, I think we're very lucky. We've come out of the other side pretty strong, I'd say. But it's been a rough year for the creative industries, or rough years.
Yeah. How does your team look like now after the learning curve before COVID, after COVID itself, and then coming into this big comeback of reigniting basically the industry, and then the rough few years after that? It's like a roller coaster, isn't it? So how do you keep your team today? Are you lean and mean? And then if you do need more people, do you have like a network that you can pull in? Is that how you manage it?
Yeah, totally. It's a odd position to be in that we've always tried to, like, based on our sort of learning, we've always tried to stay as small as possible, and kind of that sort of growth is almost just if necessary, really. So we've got an in-house team, and it also, but I think I've read some of that, the agency of the future is like a band in that everyone's got their own specialism, and that's what we've got in our team. And so even we're a team of 5 or 6, and basically everyone is able to deliver on one part of the production process. So all the way from taking a client's sort of brief, we can do scripting, we can do the pre-production, we then do the actual production and directing, and then the post-production and delivery. So we can do the whole pipeline just within our team. But yeah, a lot of our projects can scale up. And so we've got a huge network of sort of freelancers and friends and just people we've worked with before. And, we can do projects that sometimes just require 2 people if it's a simple talking head, but it can go up to 30 for a TV commercial, for example. So, we've done both of those and have to generally just change depending on the actual project itself.
Very interesting. Okay, so being on the today and how you're staying lean and mean, but still being able to handle all these different kinds of projects, what's the soul of what you do in terms of your filming, in terms of your team? The previous guest I was speaking to yesterday, not online yet, he was talking about how his whole thing is about doing things properly. He had this whole approach of these young kids today, they're trying cut corners wherever they can. And his whole thing is, we do things, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. But then the previous one, the one you actually mentioned before, he was talking more around how from vinyl to digital is about always keeping your eye open for the next big thing within the industry and trying to adopt it as soon as you can the moment it comes available, because that's how you cascade that growth all the time. Yeah. So what about you guys? What's your bread and butter? What's your vision, your mission? How do you put your soul into your product?
Sure. I mean, partly, part of it is like previous guest, in that over the years we've adopted quite a rigid process and structure, and we do things right, again, just through past experiences and mistakes, let's say. But it does mean, our production pipeline is really robust. Our clients, they pretty much know what they're getting during the early stages. They know what they're going to get at the end. So we do put a lot of effort and attention into the pre-production phase. But, just to offer something different, I guess for us and where we position our company is, over the years, we've sort of created quite a high-end premium cinematic shooting style. And so for us, it's trying to just own that position a bit more. So we do our projects correctly, but we always try and sort of steer the client to allow us to basically put our stamp on things and make something that's really sort of premium looking, really. And so
it's not that end
it's
product actually having that weight of epicness, the cinematic approach of the quality product result that people are going to see and actually be inspired from, regardless of what the content might be. You always have the take for the customer, but your style of result is that cinematic, epic, quality product. That's what you always go for.
That's what we aim for. Yes, when allowed, like I said, we'll always do the project right. We'll do right by the client, but to make ourselves stand out, and again, just part of talking around tech. Obviously, everyone's now got a camera in their pocket. Everyone's sort of an influencer. Everyone can make videos. So to actually, I think, survive a bit more, we need to be delivering stuff that's at a quality level that not everyone can do. So that's just sort of how we protect ourselves as well. But as well as we just love it. We love working in this style and actually creating something really, really beautiful.
Well, that's what I wanted to mention before, actually. When you were talking about the previous part of how you ended up being in this industry, you were doing something because you were passionate, you were enjoying it. And when the time came for you to actually commercialize it, it was almost like it pulled you in rather than you trying to push it out. And I'm guessing that's the reason why you've had a constant growth all the time, because with every day you go to work, you actually approach this as something that you enjoy doing. And because of that, you keep pushing it. So it keeps picking up momentum, and here's the result. That's where the success came from. In terms of this comparison between tools and capability for the everyday person, the layman, and the result that you bring out, what do you think is the most important aspect of it? Because obviously everyone can have a tool. That doesn't mean that everyone knows how to use the tool. Is it the lighting that makes it special? Is it the post-production? Is it the being able to digitally doctor the videos so they look in that premium spectrum? Or is it actually the shot itself that makes the biggest difference? Where would you quantify it? How do you split it?
I mean, obviously it is a combination of all those things you mentioned, but I'll try not to give you a cop-out answer. If I had to say something that really changed the way we shoot, I think it strangely is the lighting. Like when you are filming something, obviously I don't think people appreciate how important lighting is, and how to use it, I think, is a very difficult skill to sort of learn and acquire. It's very much having that sort of creative and aesthetic eye, and some people have it, some people don't. But anyone can set up a video camera and just point it at something, but you can have 20 people pointing it at the same object, but they can all light it differently, get completely different sort of moods and tones, aesthetics and things like that. And so it's just being able to craft the image with light, basically, I would say, is what is probably one of the most important things about creating a quality image. I think if we just talk about post a little bit, just having that depth in everything as well. So, the color grading, the sound design, the music. Again, I work with a lot of students at university who are sort of doing their final year projects, and I sort of sit on panels and take a look at them, and it's amazing how many of them forget that there's other elements when creating content like that. So there isn't the sound design, there's not really the color grading and all the pacing in the edit, things like that. So there's a lot that people, I think, just don't think of when putting videos together.
And actually I've been thinking about this throughout our video. You've got your lighting like bang on right now for this podcast. You've got the background
unintentional
lighting. You did it right, because I'm on my 6th or 7th episode now, from not the ones that have been posted out yet, just from filming. And I've always been thinking, with my camera setup, I've been trying to get it to have a bit more depth, but it makes me look grey. If I try and change the lighting is right on top of me, so I can't really change that. If I was to put a different spot lamp somewhere, where would I position it? How would I do it? And then just in the plain filtering that it does, because it is live. It's not like we're going to do a post-production something here. But you can see, being right on top of me, it creates some highlights in places that are not ideal. So all that sounds like a science to me, and I have no idea how to make it work for me. So just for that, I mean, I'll get some of your feedback later, so we don't bore people about how to fix myself. But yeah, it's important, isn't it? It is making.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I think there's that where one of the things I do remember from studying film is you can take someone's face, and depending where you put the light, the facial expression can be exactly the same, it can remain the same, but you position the light in different places, and audiences sort of perceive a different expression. It might be angry, it might be scared, it might be sad, and it's literally just the changing of the light. So you've just got to be careful what expression people are seeing on you right now.
Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking about the very standardized way of saying scary stories, of picking up a flashlight and just putting it underneath, and somehow the reversal of the light top down or bottom up straight away puts that eerie feel just to what you're seeing to that person. So yeah, it is very interesting. Now, in terms of the future, because we are leading to the future now. You've got your way of working, you've got it down to a T, you're progressing over time, and you keep your eyes open about getting that quality product, but also staying ahead of the curve. What do you see coming up? What kind of technologies are going to affect you over the years? Obviously, we spoke about the problem of the cloud processing or the local hosting of the files, and how do you get it from place to place? And you've got this incredible amount of data that you just have in place, and that's problematic. It causes a bottleneck. But what else? Like, what's the type of technology advances that you're seeing in your industry today? How would they affect you in the next 3 years or 5 years? And how do you think you can capture opportunities versus protecting against dangers of what's coming?
Sure. I mean, I don't know how many of your guests have said this, how many have spoken about AI. Is it just a very common...
Actually, no.
Exactly.
There was one lady, Chantel. She has said that in terms of her business, she focuses on the admin side of the project. So she's the person, she's the team, and she's got 3 offices, one in Mumbai, one in London, and one over in LA. And she's saying that the reason why they've been successful is because they do something really well, and it's the boring thing that no other person really does as well as they do. And the way they do it is by pulling in the right teams, doing the right coordination, coordinating with the customer of exactly what they want, and being that glue that sticks all the different teams together. And she said, that's what we do. When it comes to AI, didn't even bring it up once.
No, I mean, that's fantastic. And I'd love to not talk about AI. I feel like I'm talking about AI every single day and hearing about it. I am in an echo chamber. But, you know, for us, it is not necessarily a concern, but I think it is going to be something that changes the industry. Because even, you know, we're in December now, the start of it, or mid-November, Coca-Cola launched their advert, which is fully AI generated. They literally made, 100,000 sort of advert without any of my guys, like none of my people, no crew or anything like that. So obviously I know there was people sitting at machines, and there were certainly creatives working on it, but that is potentially a game changer. You know, they have essentially legitimized doing full AI productions for adverts. And where we place ourselves, as well as sort of the quality thing, you know, what we do really enjoy, the creative concepts type project, where it's not just talking to, you know, not just an interview or a talking head, but it is something a bit more interesting. And unfortunately, AI has the potential, and certainly as it develops, to do those quite well. Something that is just completely wacky and, something that would use a lot of VFX, for example, but now you can just do it with a prompt. And so my concern is, you know, we're going to lose the opportunity to do such fun, creative projects because they actually kind of are easily generated, or relatively easily generated, through AI. It'll be interesting to see, you know, like I say, I'm in an echo chamber where creatives hate it, but a lot of people are just saying, you know, it is the next big thing. But then other people are saying that the generations beneath us are actually already sick of it and they're not really going to adopt it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And maybe in a few years, AI and certainly AI content and AI videos just won't be that really well received. But there was, unfortunately, so far with I think System 1 did a test of adverts, and basically, again, like I say, creatives hate it. They say AI is slop and it doesn't work. But unfortunately, there was a test recently, and audiences watched a load of TV adverts. The majority of them didn't realize they were AI adverts, and when they were told they were AI adverts, they didn't care. And actually, on some of the recall tests and sort of emotional response tests, AI adverts scored higher than regular ones. So it's, unfortunately, there's evidence that they kind of do work, as much as we may not want them to.
I like your take on this because I was speaking to a gentleman called Vahakan yesterday, and he's the person I was telling you about, where he said we do things the proper way. If you're going to do it right. And all these kids today, they don't care about quality. And when we were chatting yesterday, his take on the Coca-Cola advert, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because he had his comments about this, and now you're having your comments. Your approach is, I can see the potential. It's not perfect. I can tell that it's AI generated. A lot of people can't. And then over time, it's got the potential of becoming a lot better. And when it does become a lot better, and it does hit a point where it's indistinguishable from reality, it actually gives you as a creative more control over what to generate, what to change. Even if the shooting went wrong, you could, based on a prompt now, adjust your shooting in a way that fixes it. Whereas we couldn't do that before. His take was, I watched that advert and I had to put my hand on my forehead because of the sizing errors that I've seen, or the color grading errors that I've seen. And that was his, he was nitpicking it to bits, which is, yeah, as an expert, you'll see those things. But then what's your approach to it? Do you reject it, or do you accept the fact that over the last 5 years, this is the progress that we've had from the Will Smith eating spaghetti to that being actually Coca-Cola, one of the biggest companies in the world, using it for a full production of an advert? What will happen in the next 5 years? So that's where we're at today. Okay. So in terms of the way you work, do you think it will actually replace a lot of the stuff you do, or do you think it's actually more of a tool that you guys can use to optimize what you're already doing and be faster and more efficient and do a lot more in less time?
I mean, my philosophy was since, I think it's, I want to say 2022, I think, when ChatGPT sort of made its debut, as it were, and everyone went nuts. Since that day, I've always just been keeping abreast of what's going on. I try the tools that are coming out. I sort of just see what's being made with them, because my philosophy has been that certainly in our industry and cinema in general, there's been so many sort of perceived industry killers, and all it's done is developed the art form further and given more opportunities and things. And what's been said about AI has been said. It was said about sound, it was said about color, it was said about VFX, all these sorts of things. And these are now sort of art forms that people, well, they are art forms, aren't they? And there are so many creators working in them. So it gives more creative opportunities. So I'm going to continue to try and use it as a tool. Certainly in the creative industry, there's still concerns about it ethically. So we do try to steer away from outright generating and using stuff like that, but it is just testing it, seeing what it's doing. I would say in certain areas, though, we have implemented parts of it to speed up processes, just make things more efficient, just gather information in one place, allow it to be disseminated amongst the teams easier. Even with pitching and concepting, we really like it. We're still waiting for more of it to be implemented in like the post-production phase, because we could really, I think that's where it could be used really well. What we want is, the software to actually understand what someone's saying and be able to recut it. And while there are tools out there, the ones we've used so far just haven't, the results have been kind of poor. So we're still looking forward to some developments in AI. And I do want to hope that a lot of commercials and filmmaking, I think, still is done the more traditional way, but that, I kind of understand it may move away from that. It's just got to see, really.
I do feel like a nice parallel that we can do about what AI is doing to the creative industry is something like, it's a completely different industry, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm thinking about farming. And once upon a time, farming was being done, by hand, by animal, by that kind of thing. And then you get the Industrial Revolution coming in, and you start to automate things. And then you go to the shops now, and you've got a separation between organically grown foods versus the more produced, like almost manufactured lines that keep pumping out And then you go and say, well, you've got quality, which is something where someone's put their craft in and made sure that this produces some result that has this ethical approach to it. It also has this difference in taste, which is higher quality, and it gives you those extra bits. Whereas on the other hand, if you do just need a quick, cheap, convenient type of food, then you just go to the standard off-the-shelf thing, and then you allow people to go and make their choice. So it's almost like it works well in the fact that you will be able to produce AI videos from generative AI, or you might be able to use parts of the AI to optimize your flow, or it might be that some people just say, there's an AI tag on that, I'm not watching that, I don't even care about it because it's rubbish, it has no soul in it, I'm going to go to the more organic bio version of an AI production. And that's a personal preference.
Yeah, I'd like to think that that is the case, that basically you will get people that just want actual human crafted productions. And that's what I mean by I'm interested to see how the younger generations are going to shape that, because again, just anecdotally, what I've heard is they're already tired of, our generation making AI slop and everything. So yes, I'd be interested to see if they do manage to contain it, and actually there is more of a move to embrace just the traditional craft. But like I said, I can't really say history has demonstrated that too often.
Yeah.
And eventually, it sort of changes, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. That's all we can do. I mean, I do find myself feeling a bit thankful of the age group that I've grown up with, because I've seen from the late 90s of the essentially making the digital world a lot more available, to the early 2000s, to the growth of the internet, and then the internet bubble that never really happened, but it did happen, kind of thing. And then from there going into the AI, now being at essentially the new discoveries that are happening, and that's all within the last 25 years, the last 30 years. So just from that, you can't guess or expect that things will just flow in a straight line. The amount of curveballs that this is still going to have. Let's see.
100%. Yeah.